Our students are the future. How we advance innovation and impact and approach equity in their classrooms will determine how we thrive as a world community. The status quo just won't cut it. That's why we're here to break the grade. Hello, breakers and difference makers. I'm Josh Chernikoff, host of How I Broke That. I'm a two-time entrepreneur in the education space, and I've successfully exited both of those companies. I've experienced my fair share of breaks in my life, and I'm here to bring my signature approach to my new show, Breaking the Grade. I'm embarking on this special journey alongside my good friend and mentor, John Gamba, Director of Innovative Programs and Entrepreneur in Residence at Penn GSE. In our podcast, you'll hear from emerging business owners in the education space who are working to transform education as we know it. Tune in as we hear about industry trends, unique principles and practices, and the attempts that have and haven't worked for our grade-breaking guests. So fellow entrepreneurs and educators, what do you think? Are you ready to take a hammer to the education space and break the grade? Welcome back to another special edition of Breaking the Grade. I know I say that every single time, and this time it's special because this is the last of our interviews from IFE in Monterrey, Mexico, back in January of 2025. Rob Reyes is our guest. And when you listen to Rob's story, you're going to know why we saved the best for last. I want to ask you a question. What happens when your biggest failure in business isn't just maybe a bad pitch, but it's a legal fight or a fight with a founder, and then the burnout potentially ends your career? That's what happened with my friend Rob Reyes, and he rebuilt anyways. In this episode, I sit down with Rob, who's the managing director at Berkeley Executive Institute, to unpack how he turned lawsuits and loss and burnout into radical clarity and the kind of credibility that buyers and investors actually trust. This show is a founder's blueprint for rebuilding when everything breaks. Take time, get to know my friend, Rob Reyes. Welcome to Breaking the Grade. Welcome to another edition, and one of our last, but not least, interviews here at the IFE conference in Monterrey, Mexico, is with my new friend Rob. We were on a panel together. We didn't really know each other until about a week ago, but now I feel like we will know each other well into the future. Rob, welcome to the show, and you know, tell everybody kind of what you do and where you're from, because you have a really cool story.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me. I'm Rob. Actually, my first name is Robespierre. I am not French. I'm Mexican who happened to live in San Francisco. I've been in the Bay Area for 12 years now. I am a fourth-time founder. I launched 2 fintech startups and 2 edtech startups. 3 failures, 1 exit. And because of that exit, I am doing my thing and giving back to my community. And nowadays, I work with faculty members of Berkeley and Stanford, and we provide this, I would say, the cherry on top of the cake of those higher ed institutions who are looking for what is missing in their systems.
Wow. Okay.
With a perspective from Silicon Valley.
Gotcha.
Because we see the future.
Gotcha. One of the things that I really respect about you, I mean, we go so far back, but when we initially spoke, you said almost verbatim, probably, 3 failures and 1 exit. And I think it's so important for other entrepreneurs to hear that you essentially went 1 for 4, but you hit that one out of the park. And I think that sometimes is missing from podcasts.
Yeah.
You know, because we just kind of hear the success stories. So I say thank you for saying that, and talk to us about, if you can, first to the audience, because we have entrepreneurs, we got founders, we have CEOs. Talk about the 3 failures first.
And what
Yeah.
did you learn from those?
You know what? I love to talk about my failures, and that's what I do every single day. One story about one of my, I will say, remarkable failure in my career is not finding or not having a great team of co-founders. We didn't even hit the market. Yep. We are still in court. We're fighting and fighting. You know who are the winners?
The lawyers.
Lawyers. They are so happy that we are still fighting.
Yeah.
And all the research, all the money spent, all the seed funding that we receive, it's gone. And just because probably that is my mistake. I didn't do my due diligence correctly, or probably it wasn't the right time of looking for new co-founders. Sometimes you gotta go solo. You need to figure out what is next, because you might crash that Ferrari.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now we share that too. I think as entrepreneurs, we can't necessarily regret what we've done. We can learn from what we've done, because we always have to move forward. I didn't bring on the best investors, and I take responsibility for that because I didn't do my due diligence. I was definitely a different person back then, but I also think we weren't the right fit, and we all should have recognized that. At the end of the day, maybe it's our nature as founders and CEOs to say, oh, go ahead, put the sword in my back. It's just another one.
Yeah.
You know? And so I'll take that, but I share that with you. Let's talk about the success. And so, you know, and you guys can't see this, but a nice big smile on Rob's face. Talk us through the success.
Yeah. I mean, after a couple of years in San Francisco, I got to the point where I was lost, but I still feel that I belong to that ecosystem. You know, San Francisco, sometimes they say it's kind of like a weird place to be. It is, but in a good way. And the reason why I brought this to my story is because I call myself a resilient individual. And I said, you know what? You probably have something invisible that you haven't discovered yet. And I was right. My community, probably 85% of the population in tech in San Francisco are not from the Bay Area, neither from the US. And something that we have in common is that we are from all over the world, but not Americans.
Yeah.
And we have each other to collaborate and to support each other. And I did exactly that. I offered my failures to those startups, and then in return, I found the perfect team. The team that I really needed it back in my second startup. And they bring with them the best investors, the best mentors, and obviously they know probably or final clients or consumers at the end of the day. It's all combined. It's not only the team, but who is part of the whole structure of your team. And let me add something that I really, really like to talk about is you don't want any VC or any kind of VC in your cap table. That's very important.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard to tell who are the good ones and who are, the picky ones.
One of the really important things that I talk to companies about, whether they've made no money or hundreds of millions of dollars, in the education space, because that's what I focus on, is nurturing relationships and giving first and receiving second. And, that's as a result of, I don't know if you know him, but my good friend and my co-host of this show, John Gamba. Everybody seems to know John. He's who I stood in for on this panel. I always say I'm kind of from the John Gamba coaching tree. Like, Bill Walsh has his coaching tree for the San Francisco 49ers and all these coaches everywhere. I'm part of the Gamba coaching tree. And the reason I say it is because I learned this from John, and he continues to teach it. And when you give first and receive second, you get so much. And I think that's hard for founders, especially in education, because you need traction. You got to go. You got to grow your business, and so you're just like, I got to get. LinkedIn is a great place to give, And when I talk to people about LinkedIn, I think they're in their mind, they're thinking, LinkedIn is for like getting a job, for networking. No. LinkedIn is a place, maybe one of the last places on earth, online, that you can have true conversations. And then they're thinking, okay, so you want me to post? I'm like, no. Just go comment. Do 20 comments a day.
Minimum.
And but see how you feel and see what happens to your network and see what comes your way. So I love the fact that you said, okay, I'm going to give first and see what comes back. And it truly
I'm never
works.
expecting something.
Of course not. No. You can never expect. So I think you're totally right there. We are at Monterey Tech, which is a beautiful campus. Literally feels like a zoo at times. There are so many animals walking around here. But you and I had a conversation, and let's transition from, we've gone from success to failure professionally. Let's go and talk about being an entrepreneur and being a father, being a husband, and talk me through what that's like and how it can be tough.
Oh, you know me already. It's tough. There is no balance between being a father, founder, and a friend, because everyone nowadays, not everyone, but most people who already know me, what I do, and where I am, they want to get a hold of me. And it's okay for me. My LinkedIn, it's always open. That's what I say. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. I promise you, I'll get back to you, probably within 24 hours. But as an entrepreneur myself, I don't have the recipe, but I can tell you my experience. And it has to be with always be there for your community and always share with them what they don't know. And probably I say this, when they are wrong, just tell them right away that they are going in the wrong direction. That's something unique in the Bay Area that I really admire from people, that they are really direct to the point and there are no hard feelings. For instance, in Latin America, it's the other way.
Mm-hmm.
They don't tell you the truth. They never tell you that they're doing bad. They tell you lies. Está bien. Keep going.
Poco a poco.
But that's not what you need to hear. You need the real feedback. And that's exactly how an entrepreneur succeeds. Listening and being proactive. And that's what I do.
In my course, we talk a lot about the objections and the rejection.
Love that.
And those things are what are going to help your business. You need them. You need them because you need to understand the objections. For example, when I talk to a lot of people about, lead generation in the education space, a lot of the objections that I hear is, oh, no. I've tried LinkedIn. Really? Have you done it my way? Oh, no. I've sent emails. Really? Have you done it my way? I post all the time. Really? All the objections of why it has not worked. And I hear those objections, but I also know how it can work, and I feel for people who have done all those. I call them slow burn methods. And so, but those objections are helpful. They help me to understand where people are coming from. Having now been in and out of Mexico for a couple of years, I understand what you're saying about, not necessarily people giving the truth or wanting the truth.
Yeah.
Both. Because when you give them the truth, I think I'd like to also ask you about really your work. And we've been at this conference and sat on a panel where we really talked about the opportunity between universities, and the large university is great. Partnering with a junior college or a community college is great too. So can you talk them through why it's important to have that partnership and why it's not important for it to be a large institution?
Yeah. So what we do, we partner with universities outside of the U.S. That's the first thing that your audience needs to know. Why outside of the U.S.? It's because they are being left behind. They are in 2000 and late. Unfortunately, most of the content nowadays is in English, and probably the statistics are there. The rest of the world are not English speakers, and it's just a barrier to really get involved of what's happening, not just in California, but in general in tech. And I'm not saying that we do translation, but we are really trying to build a one and unique community. Doesn't matter what language you speak. And we, as founders, researchers, educators, we just want to share our knowledge, our technologies, but most importantly, build together what is missing in your market with our expertise.
Okay. So, Rob, talk to us about what a university is looking for in a company, because I want the people who are listening now to be able to position themselves correctly to partner up with a university, a community college. What are they looking for?
First of all, talent. I think everybody is looking for talent all around the world. That's the first one. And the second one is to share resources, their research, and obviously patents. That's something that I always hear a lot. I don't know if a lot of universities, the OKRs are patents, total patents they have per year.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if they actually do how many papers they publish. But again, in my opinion, that's not it.
Right.
They are not building anything. That's something that I always say to startup founders. It's everything beautiful on paper, but they never execute. Right. That's the same with universities.
Interesting. This is what you're talking about is a world that I don't know very well. Like my wheelhouse is K-12. So this is so interesting for me to hear this. You know, being at this event, when you come to these events, these conferences, I used to go to conferences and I was just looking contract, like what can I sell. But when you come to these events now, when I come to these events, it's really just to listen and learn and kind of that, you know, give and not need to get. And then when you start having these conversations, although you and I have spent a few days together, we had not peeled back the onion on, you know, our partners. I was sued by my first partner.
Yeah.
Sounds like you've been locked up in that, and that's how I knew the answer to your wonderful question of who wins. The lawyers.
The lawyers.
And
they always win.
They always win. And you and I share being fathers and being business owners and being givers. So, you know, I'm really grateful that you came on the show and kind of shared this really different perspective with our audience. And the other last thing that we share is I always tell people, like, just find me on LinkedIn.
Oh, yeah.
I'm there all the time. And so now for our audience, we'll put in your LinkedIn in the show notes, and hopefully there'll be people knocking on your door because you have a lot to offer.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I appreciate you coming on the show, and I'm sure this is not the last time we will have you on this show.
I hope not. Thank you.
All right, man. Good stuff.